The night felt as if it was holding its breath. Everyone was unknowingly approaching that fragile line where a single decision, a single word, or even a misunderstanding could change lives forever. Hearts had been broken, pride had been wounded, yet no one truly knew how long real feelings could remain hidden. Because sometimes a person tries hardest to run away from the one they love the most. But fate keeps bringing them back to the same place. And on this very night, something was about to happen in the story of You Are the One I Love that could turn everything upside down. But here's the real question. Can a decision to marry truly separate two people forever? Or are some loves impossible to escape no matter how hard you try? Daikel was sitting alone in her room. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. Some kinds of pain run deeper than tears. She stared at the screen of her phone for a long time. Urkin's name was still there in the message thread. Those messages, those arguments, those unfinished sentences. After a moment, she locked the phone and took a deep breath. "It's over," she whispered quietly to herself. "It's really over now." But was it really over? Can someone truly walk away when love still exists in their heart? Just then there was a knock at the door. Her mother walked in, her face filled with concern. "Daikel, Kadir's family wants to come over tomorrow evening." Daikel slowly lifted her head. "Let them come." Her mother looked surprised. "Are you sure?" Daikel's voice sounded firm. "Yes. There's no point in dragging this out." But there was something in her eyes. A hesitation, a quiet fear, maybe even a hidden hope she was trying to bury. So the question remains. Does Daikel truly want to marry Kadir? Or is this simply a punishment meant for Urkin? At that very same moment, Urkin was sitting inside his car, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The conversation he had just had with Bursun was still echoing in his mind. She had looked at him calmly and asked, "Do you really love me, Urkin?" And Urkin couldn't answer. Sometimes silence is the most painful answer of all. In that moment, Bursun understood everything. "Your heart is still with Daikel, isn't it?" Urkin closed his eyes. I was just trying to fix everything." Bursun shook her head slowly. "No. You were just running away." Those words weighed heavily on Urkin's heart. Was she right? Could it be that Urkin had been running from his own feelings all along? He didn't even start the car because he didn't know where he should go. Just then his phone rang. Caller ID showed Kadir. Urkin frowned but answered. "What do you want, Kadir?" Kadir's voice was calm. "Tomorrow night is going to be an important night for us." Urkin's expression hardened. "What do you mean by that?" After a brief pause, Kadir spoke again. "I'm marrying Daikel." The words hung in the air like a shockwave. For a few seconds, Urkin couldn't even speak. Finally he clenched his teeth and replied, "Do you really think you love her?" Kadir's voice turned colder. "It's clear that you don't." The call ended. Urkin slammed his fist against the steering wheel. But deep inside something was breaking. Was this the moment Urkin finally realized he might lose Daikel forever? The next morning as the sun rose, Daikel woke up early. She stood in front of the mirror. Her face looked strangely calm, but inside her heart was a storm. Just then her phone rang again. This time it was Urkin calling. Daikel stared at the screen for several seconds but didn't answer. The phone stopped ringing, and then started again. Still she didn't answer. When it rang a third time, Daikel picked it up, but instead of answering, she turned the phone off completely. Now the question is this. If you were in her place, what would you do? Would you answer the call of the person you still love? Or would you stay silent to protect your broken pride? At the same moment, Urkin angrily threw his phone onto the passenger seat. "We need to talk, Daikel," he muttered under his breath. But was it already too late? Later that afternoon, Kadir arrived at Daikel's house with a small box in his hand. When Daikel opened the door, Kadir greeted her with a calm smile. "Are you ready?" he asked. Daikel raised an eyebrow. "Ready for what?" Kadir held out the box. "The ring." Daikel slowly opened it. Inside was a delicate ring, elegant and simple, but her eyes didn't light up the way they should have. She simply stared at it in silence. Kadir noticed immediately. Is something wrong? Daikel shook her head. No, but was that really true? Could it be that there was still a place in her heart for Urkin? As evening approached, an uneasy tension seemed to hang over the city. Everyone in their own way was about to face a truth they could no longer avoid. Urkin finally got into his car and drove toward Daikel's house. I have to talk to her before I lose her, he told himself. But sometimes fate pushes people into action at the very last moment. Back at the house, preparations had already begun. Daikel's family was sitting in the living room, and Kadir's family had also arrived. Everyone was smiling politely, yet there was an invisible tension filling the room. Kadir stepped closer to Daikel and spoke softly. We'll exchange the rings in a moment. Daikel nodded quietly, but just then the doorbell rang. Every head in the room turned toward the door. Her mother walked over and opened it. Standing there was Urkin. The entire room fell into sudden silence. Urkin stepped inside, his eyes searching for only one person, Daikel. We need to talk, he said. Kadir stood up immediately. This isn't the right time. Urkin ignored him completely. Daikel, please. Daikel stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. What would she do now? Would she talk to Urkin, or would she put on the ring and end everything? Kadir stepped forward again. There's an engagement happening here tonight. Urkin shot him a sharp look. I'm talking to Daikel. It felt like everyone in the room had stopped breathing. Finally Daikel spoke. Urkin, go. The words caused Urkin's expression to fall. Is that really what you want? Daikel avoided his gaze. Yes. But was it really the truth? Urkin waited a few seconds longer. Then he slowly nodded. All right. He turned and began walking toward the door. But before reaching it, he stopped and turned back. There's something I need to say. The entire room fell silent again. Urkin took a deep breath. I love you, Daikel. The words exploded in the room like a bomb. Kadir's face hardened instantly. Daikel's eyes filled with tears. I know I ruined everything, but I love you. The silence that followed was overwhelming. Only the sound of beating hearts seemed to exist. What would Daikel do now? Would she listen to her heart and return to Urkin? Or would she choose her pride and continue toward marriage with Kadir? Kadir spoke sharply, unable to hold back his anger. Is this some kind of game to you, Urkin? Urkin didn't even blink. No. This is the truth. Daikel's hands trembled slightly. The ring was still sitting on the table. On one side stood her past. On the other side an uncertain future. Daikel closed her eyes. Her heart kept repeating the same question. Who do I truly love? And at that exact moment, something unexpected happened. Daikel took a step forward. Everyone in the room held their breath. But the real question was this. Who was that step meant for? Because sometimes a single step can change everything. The answer would come in the next episode. Because some decisions don't just change two lives, they change everyone's. Yet the night was far from over. The silence in that living room felt like an invisible knot tightening around everyone's hearts. That single step Daikel had taken looked small on the surface, but it carried the weight to change every life in that room. Sometimes one step is enough to reveal emotions that have been hidden for years. Would Daikel finally listen to her heart, or would she continue hiding behind her wounded pride? She took another step. Urkin's heart began racing. Kadir's gaze hardened. No one dared to breathe. For several seconds, Daikel said nothing. Then she looked at the ring resting on the table. And then at Urkin. Tears filled her eyes. I wish, she whispered slowly. I wish you had said that sooner. Those words lit a spark of hope inside Urkin's heart. But at the same time, a dark expression crossed Kadir's face. Was this the beginning of something new? Or the first words of a goodbye? Urkin stepped closer. I know I'm late, but that doesn't mean my feelings aren't real. Daikel shook her head. You're late, Urkin. The sentence echoed across the room. Kadir exhaled as if relieved, but Dikal continued. Because I gave you so many chances. Urkin lowered his eyes. Dikal's voice trembled, yet it remained strong. And every time you chose your pride. Was Urkin truly a victim of his own pride? Urkin slowly lifted his head and spoke the words no one expected to hear. No. I was afraid. That confession stunned everyone in the room. And that brings us to the end of today's story and analysis. As we've seen, the tension between Dikal, Urkin, and Kadir is reaching a breaking point, and the decisions made from this moment on could change all of their lives forever. Love, pride, and truth are colliding, and the next episode might reveal who is truly willing to fight for what they feel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel Series World so you never miss our latest episode analyses and drama stories. And now I want to hear from you. If you were Dikal, who would you choose, Urkin or Kadir? And why? Write your thoughts in the comments below. I read every comment and I'd love to know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on Series World.